Well, good morning and welcome back on the Buckeye Breakdown podcast. It is Behind Enemy Lines, Wednesday of Ohio State versus Rutgers week. And so we are joined by Rutgers Rivals reporter Chris Nalwasky, who covers Rutgers very closely and is going to give us a good idea of what to expect when the Buckeyes head out to Piscataway this weekend. Chris, thanks for some time. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this. Talk some Rutgers Ohio State.
Should be a fun game. I think this has a chance to be maybe the most competitive game in the fairly brief series history.
Mhm.
For crazy Big Ten football fans that might watch every game, I think the fact that Rutgers is getting better isn't going to surprise them. But for folks that maybe haven't paid attention to teams outside of Ohio State, there's still this stigma around we're playing Rutgers and this is going to be another 56-0 game. I really can't stress enough that I don't think this is that kind of Rutgers team. Just from a 10,000 foot view, why do you feel that this program has taken some good steps in the right direction here?
Well, the first big change is obviously hiring back Greg Schiano, former Ohio State coach there. He's completely changed the program for the better. Everyone has bought into the culture. Everything is about keep chopping. If any of the players didn't buy in, they're not there. The talent is getting better and better. Even the guys that were here previously from the previous staffs, the whole team is just improving. Last week, they went toe-to-toe to Michigan. They almost won. Everything is just getting better. The effort's there. Everyone is just it's really just the culture. Everyone thinks, everyone's confident. All the guys think they believe they can win every game. And that's about it. Rutgers is getting better, I guess.
The last two games now between what they did last week and then last year when they went deep into multiple overtimes against Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
I realize Michigan right now isn't the power that they have typically been, but I still consider Michigan to be a competent, good football program.
Sure.
Their biggest challenge is they haven't beaten Ohio State, but they're still a competitive, good team. And the fact that Rutgers has gone toe to toe with them now 2 years in a row tells me that, look right there. That's a great reason why you'd see this, this team improving.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing that stands out to me, and perhaps you can elaborate on this a little bit, in years past when Rutgers was just dismal, one of the things that stood out to me was that they were undisciplined and committed a lot of really stupid penalties.
Mm-hmm.
This year, Rutgers is one of the least penalized teams in America. I think they're like third right now in both penalties per game and in penalty yards per game.
Mm-hmm.
And their special teams units have been very, very good. If you're not committing sloppy fouls and if you're able to play some field position game, I realize 2 of their 4 games so far have come against some lesser opponents. But
Sure.
to me, that's a great sign of moving things in the right direction. No?
Yeah. That's been a big talking point. All the above. They're like you said, they're not committing penalties. If you're not committing penalties, you're always going to give yourself a chance. One of the main also things is they're not turning the ball over. They had their first turnover last week. Their last drive of the game of the season. And if Shannon always talks about the ball is a program. If you go to practice, you hear that almost every couple seconds. The ball is a program. You need the ball to score other than a safety, as Shannon always says. So if other team doesn't have the ball, they can't score. If you have the ball, you can score. Penalties is another big thing, like you said. It's really those two things. They're really disciplined. They did have a couple, kind of bad penalties against Michigan, but other than that, they've been doing really well. And going back to turnovers again, heading into the game, they led the nation in turnover margin. I think it was like plus 3.5 or so. They had like eight takeaways already. They haven't had any the last 2 games. So I know that's a big emphasis, getting some this week. And against a team like Ohio State, they're gonna need to get turnovers on the defensive side of the ball, in order to give themselves a chance. So, but it goes back to the culture. Again, everyone's buying in, everyone swarms to the ball. They take care of the ball. They make good decisions, and they're just playing really smart too.
Let's talk about a couple of individual players. Um, in particular, I think you guys have gotten increasingly better quarterback play the last couple
Mhm.
of years.
Mhm.
Noah's back again this year. It always helps when you have a returning starter. Give us an idea of what you really like about Noah's competition.
Yeah, he won't wow you with his arm. He doesn't have the strongest arm in the world, and when you look at him, like he doesn't kind of have the look of like a big time, Big Ten quarterback or whatever. But he gets the job done. He's pretty accurate. He makes good decisions. Like I said, he hasn't. He had the one fumble against Michigan in the last drive, but they're trying to make something happen. They're down by a touchdown late in the game. But he hasn't thrown a pick. He's been really smart with the ball. He spreads the ball around to a bunch of receivers. He can also run the ball too. He's a very effective runner. He's not the fastest, but he's very mobile, and it helps really move the chains that way. He's a big leader. I know he says in the past that he wants to get into coaching when he's done playing. And obviously he'll play as long as he can, as he always says too. But he's a really good leader. He commands the offense. He commands the huddle. It's good that he's back in the second year with the offensive coordinator again, so that everything helps too with that. So.
Well, from a rushing attack perspective, Isaiah Pacheco kind of stands out to me.
Mhm.
Certainly your thoughts on Isaiah, but even beyond him.
Yeah, yeah. Isaiah's, they call him Pop. He runs hard. His head's always bobbing around when he runs. He runs angry. He runs with great emotion. It seems like he got faster this year. He can catch the ball catch the ball in the backfield. Behind him, Kyle Monungai and Aaron Young have both played well. Monungai is kind of like a little bit smaller back, but he can hit you. He can run over you. Aaron Young is a very good pass catcher. He's versatile. They have three really good running backs that they can use at any moment in the game, and they're not afraid to use them too. Kyle Monungai, he barely played last year at all as a freshman, but he was in the critical third down in game one, first quarter. So they trust him. They trust all three guys honestly, and they both kind of have different skill sets, which kind of helps different plays and everything like that.
Give us an idea of the identity of this offense, and in general, if if Greg Schiano's team is having its way and they can play the way they want to play, what does
Mhm.
that offense look like?
I really think they want to run the ball. They're not the best at run the ball. It goes back to the offensive line play. But they want to run the ball. They want to keep the clock going. They want to keep the ball in their hands, like I've mentioned a couple of times already. I know the offensive coordinator Sean Gleason. He also wants to throw the ball deep. He wants a vertical game to kind of stretch out the defense, which will help in the run game as well. But they want to keep control of the ball also. So they're going to be smart. Little passes. Aaron Cruikshank is a big weapon in the offense with jet sweeps or short passes out wide over the middle. They don't really use the tight ends all too much. They mostly are blockers, but they'll hit you with the surprise throw every once in a while.
Let's switch to the defensive side of the ball because I think for as much as you need to score and as much as they have played
Mhm.
fine offensively, to me, the thing that's been most impressive is the way they played defense, especially late in
Sure,
games. I mean, the fourth
sure.
quarter defense, especially against Michigan, was very, very good.
Mhm.
I don't believe they've given up a point in the fourth quarter of a game all season long. Is there something different that you're seeing from the defense when they get to the fourth quarter, or is that just sort of, a confluence of circumstances?
I think it's just kind of the flow of the game. Against Michigan, between the third and fourth quarters, they allowed four straight three and outs, and that allowed Rutgers to kind of get back in the game. I think they just settle in. They swarm to the ball, they try and rip the ball away. Um, that they just kind of play fast and play loose. I think the defense. Shiano is all about defense, and he always says he wants Rutgers can have a chance if they're in the game in the fourth quarter, and they've been able to do that. And then I think this team has just played really well. They kind of mesh well together. They just got cornerback Patrice Rene back last week. He missed the first couple games. he didn't play a ton, but he's a veteran corner. It's his 6th year. They got the extra year from the NCAA from the pandemic stuff, but overall, there's almost all the starters are back on defense, which always helps too. So they've improved, and they just been playing well.
I feel like the 3 wins for Rutgers have all been kind of different games. You play Delaware, and the offense is just firing right out of the gates.
Sure.
4 scores, I think, in the first 5 possessions. The game against Syracuse was scoreless at halftime.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to, the sign of a good team is figuring out ways to win games when maybe you're not playing at your best.
Mm-hmm.
I realize there might be a little bit of a difference in competition between, a Power 5 program and say, Temple or Delaware, but it's, I mean, look, it's still Division I football. And Rutgers is a growing program. I was impressed with the way that they have found different ways to win games. Is that something that stands out to you?
Yeah, that actually brings up a good point. Also, I didn't even think about that, but that's really good. I know I was talking to Noah Vedral there yesterday actually, and every player you talk to, every other word of their mouth is about chop and keep chopping, and I guess no matter the score, no matter the circumstance, all you gotta do is keep chopping, and just get through that play, and that's really the whole mantra, the whole slogan, the whole culture of the program is no matter the score, they're always going to have a chance to win if you just keep chopping and just keep going on the next play. Noah always says that he just look at the scoreboard. He only looks at the scoreboard. When it says 0-0 at the end, they just keep playing, and no matter what, they're always going to try and get the job done. And like you said, it depends on the opponent too. Who knows? Like you said, Delaware, they threw the ball a lot. In other games, they run the ball and play good defense. So, at some point, this team's going to be really dangerous if, everything's clicking all at once.
Saw a couple of interesting notes on the Temple win to open the year. And again, Temple is, they play in the American Athletic Conference. So we're not talking about an FCS opponent here. They are, a competitive, mid-major Division I football team. Final score in that game was 61-14 for Ohio State fans that didn't follow it. So it was a season opening blowout. But Rutgers scored 5 different ways on 10 scores. They had a safety, a field goal, a rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, and an interception return for a touchdown. They had 6 total rushing touchdowns in the game, which was the most in a Greg Schiano era. So they, multifaceted attack, both offensively and defensively there. And the 61 points for Rutgers marked the most in a season opener against an FBS opponent. It was the most points against an FBS opponent overall since they scored 63 back in 2008 against Louisville. So, this is definitely a team that is showcasing. They've got some talent. They've got some athletes. And, Chris, when I think back to last year's Ohio State game, the Buckeyes were never in danger of losing. And I don't think Ohio State fans ever really sweated it out. But I also would say it probably wasn't the most comfortable win that Ohio State had all year either. I mean, there were some gimmicky things that happened in the second half, but by the same token, you sit there and respect the fact that a team that was getting pounded in the first half came out and kept swinging in the second half, as Ryan Day so often likes to say. The game's 60 minutes long. You got to play full 60. And I thought, for me, that was a nice reminder that this Rutgers team is, sick of getting kicked around, and that they've got some athletes and they're going to play a full game against you.
Sure, and it's all about it's all about the chop and keep chopping. So I know Schiano said last week, and all the players said last week heading into the Michigan game, that they want to see how they stacked up. Now they know they come up a little short, but they're getting better, and they're saying the same thing this week. They want to see how they stack up against Ohio State, and they're just going to play hard. They're going to play their game. They're going to they always say they have a good game plan. But yeah, like you said, they score in different ways. They could, they're playing very well on offense, defense, and special teams. I think their confidence level is high too. If you have confidence, so you can just go out there and play free. They're obviously the underdogs in this game, so they don't really have any pressure. They're out, and it's a home game. They have their fans back. I think there's going to be a sellout pretty soon. Everyone's pretty amped up about the game. So I think Rutgers is just going to give it all they got. And they always say, they're confident and they have talent too. So it's not played on paper. It's always played on the field. So
I think I'm pronouncing this correctly, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Olakunle Fadukazi.
sounds good. Yeah. Yep.
All right. Nailed it.
03 for short, if you ever want to.
I would imagine that he's sort of the heartbeat of the defense right now. Top 20 in the country in tackles, and a guy that stands out when you watch tape. Give us an idea what you like about his game.
Yeah, he can honestly go sideline to sideline. He's aggressive. He gets into the backfield too. He blitzes. He's pretty good at coverage. I think he's had a pretty quiet season relatively compared to last year. But he's a big thumper. He's a leader of the defense, like you said. He's just a really good player, and he actually had a chance last year to leave for the NFL draft, but he opted to come back as the rest of the team did, really. And he's improved though. Also, despite kind of been quiet, I think he's really kind of been quiet because you kind of expect him to be the tackling machine like he has been still this year. He leads the team in tackles and everything. So yeah, like you said, he's a really good player, and he's kind of a quiet guy, off the field, but on the field he just flips a switch.
It's so weird to talk about special teams in such a light, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we are totally ignoring one of the bright spots of this team if we don't recognize what they've done with their special teams units. You've got a second-year special teams coordinator, but I think it goes beyond him.
Mm-hmm.
A 62-yard punt return for a touchdown in the Delaware game for Aaron Cruikshank.
Mm-hmm.
The kick return units last year had 3 kick returns for touchdowns, which was among the best nationally. Net punting right now it's kind of ridiculous how good it is.
Mm-hmm.
They set a school record last year at more than 42 yards net punting, and this year right around that same mark, and number 1 in the country so far.
Mm-hmm.
And we're a third of the way through the season. Since 2009, Rutgers has blocked 56 kicks.
Mm-hmm.
56. I realize we're talking about 12 years, but come on, that's crazy.
Yeah.
61 times they've blocked a kick under a Greg Schiano coach team. Why in the world is this team so good at special teams?
I think it goes back. They just practice it a ton. They spend a lot of time in practice on special teams, and they play all pretty much all their best players, their starters on special teams too. They don't really play like the freshman linebacker, just trying to make something happen, getting his feet wet. They have Fatukasi, they have Avery Young, they have all the starters on defense playing special teams, and it's a big part of the game. They spend a lot of time on it. You could score in special teams. You could change games in special teams. A lot of teams maybe don't think of it as a big area, but Rutgers and Schiano does, and it helps them. It helps them be competitive. It helps them win games. Honestly, Adam Corsack is one of the best punters in the country. I think he's the best punter. He's 2-time Ray Guy Award Player of the Week already this season. I think he kind of gets snubbed a lot by the Big Ten, but nationally he's recognized a lot. Valentino and Brosio at kicker. He was a former soccer player at Rutgers. He came in last year and did a pretty good job. Cruikshank is one of the best returners in the country. He's up there in terms of almost breaking the Rutgers return record. Off the top of my head, I don't remember the exact numbers, but he's obviously every time he catches the ball, he kind of makes you hold your breath a little bit, and they do a good job blocking for him. Blocking kicks, it goes back to just having their best players. They always have, they kind of pick their spots on when to do it too, and I think that helps. Maybe other teams are nervous too. Maybe they think about it too much. I don't know, but they just do a really good job overall at special teams, and they even their snappers good, the holders good. So overall special teams is just a really big part of the team.
I know Ohio State fans certainly enjoy looking at the future of the program, and for as much as the "What have you done for me lately?" crowd, studies and looks and criticizes the current roster. Recruiting is the lifeblood of college sports, and if you
Sure.
can't recruit well, it's pretty difficult to win games. Just in taking a brief look at Rutgers, I mean, they've got a number of four-star players coming in next year and certainly seem to be attracting some good talent. Give us an idea of maybe some of the guys that Rutgers fans are looking forward to bringing on campus here soon.
Yeah, earlier I know right now they're according to Rivals, they're ranked 30th in the country. A couple months ago when the cycle kind of first started in the spring, they were up to number 10 or so, number 9. They've been recruiting really well. Their class is pretty much almost done as far as I know, but they do have a lot of 4 stars, like you said. Jacob Allen is a really good 4-star offensive lineman. Moses Walker, Anthony Johnson, 2 really hard hitting linebackers on the second level of the defense. Marion Brown is a receiver from Florida, another 4-star. I think he's gonna need a year or two in the weight room with Coach Shea Butler, but he's a big playmaker. Sam Brown is a very good running back, dual threat guy. And they have a safety from Union, Davison Igbinison. His brother's on the team. I think he's gonna be possibly better than his brother. I think he's gonna get a 4-star at some point. According to all the other guys on the site. But overall, they're recruiting really well. Shiano has brought a really big buzz back to the program. And the one main takeaway from the class that I like, I'm a big believer in kind of building the program from the inside out. And they have 6 offensive linemen committed in the class, and the one commit from the 2023 class is also an O lineman. O lineman. Rutgers, before the season started, Shannon was talking about how, the offensive line will take Rutgers as far as it can go. And they've been improving, but they haven't really settled on the offensive line. They've been still mixing and matching. And I think getting, more talent in the program is always going to up the competition. Shannon's big on really, big on competition. And, they want to compete in the Big Ten. And in order to do that, you got to have good linemen. And they've been really focusing on that.
Let's wrap up, maybe just kind of talking about the outlook of the season moving forward here for Rutgers. I'm sure within the walls of of their own complex, you always have to believe you can win every game, and you have to believe you can compete for a conference championship. But the reality is they're probably not quite there yet. Progressing, but not where they need to be quite yet. So this might be a tough game for Rutgers to win. It would certainly register quite a shockwave across the country if they picked up a win this weekend. But beyond that, what are a few of the games that Rutgers fans are looking at on their schedule saying, hey, that's a game we can really get?
Yeah, I think the month after the Ohio State game, the month of October is really critical. Rutgers has 3 wins right now already. They're halfway to a bowl game. They had 3 wins last year in the Big Ten only season. But October this year is really big for them. They have, Michigan State at home. Michigan State, they beat Michigan State last year in the season opener. The Spartans are a lot better than they were last year when Rutgers played them. So that's going to be a tough game. But, they also have Northwestern on the road, Illinois on the road. So October is going to be a really big month to kind of maybe get, 2 more wins, and going into November, just needed 1 more to get to a bowl game. So, Illinois and Northwestern are definitely big games in October. And then Indiana in November. Indiana's maybe not the Indiana that, we thought they were going to be, this season. They're certainly beatable. And then, of course, you have Maryland to finish out the season. It's kind of, they're kind of like on par, I guess, with Rutgers. So, they have to win the toss-up games. If they don't, it's going to be tough. They still have Penn State and Wisconsin left also. So, those are, some of the games that they really need to, try and win, obviously.
Looking forward to watching this program grow. Admittedly, while, I certainly cover Ohio State, I love college athletics. And frankly, I love a lot of different college sports. And I always find it fun to watch a program that, is at the bottom of the pile and is trying to figure out a way to scratch and claw their way, up into a really competitive spot. And, the nature of college sports is that your team is different every year. You've got natural attrition. Some guys leave. There's all this crazy stuff now going on with the transfer portal, and rosters can flip drastically from year to year, perhaps more so now than ever before. But I'm I'm enjoying watching Rutgers build something that looks a heck of a lot more competitive, because I don't think anybody in the Big Ten, really enjoyed watching this team play. Now, as an Ohio State fan, I realize you're probably not particularly worried about this game yet.
Sure.
Rutgers is not on Ohio State's level. And again, if the Buckeyes lose this game this weekend, it's going to be a pretty rough week for Ohio State next week. I think that's pretty unlikely, but Rutgers is far more respectable now. And I think that's good for the Big Ten. I don't want to
Sure.
see any teams that are truly awful.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. Just kind of judging by this game. I think I don't know if you're into like betting and everything like that, but the spread is about 15 points. Last year it was double that.
I don't want to cut you off, but how in the world is the spread between Ohio State and Rutgers tighter than Michigan and Rutgers?
Yeah, I think college football is just really impressed with Rutgers. I know Michigan moved up in the AP standings, after a win against Rutgers. Usually, it goes down or something like that. So, Michigan was expected to completely blow out Rutgers. It looked that way after the first drive when Michigan, I think, ran for like 64 of the 74 yards in the drive for easy touchdown. But Rutgers really responded well, and honestly, they outplayed Michigan the rest of the way. They had more yards, they had more rushing yards, and Michigan led the nation, in rushing. I think just more respect, like you said, is going toward the Scarlet Knights, which is always positive, I guess. So.
Sage Ohio says they think that the spread is tighter because it's at Rutgers.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, but
mm-hmm.
man, I don't know. And I will say this. I mean, I had some conversations with some friends last week about the Michigan-Rutgers game. And when I saw that spread was 21, I mean, I've never placed a sports bet in my life. That's not my thing. But I would have hammered Rutgers in that game. There is no way they were 21 points worse than Michigan. I don't care if that game was being played in Ann Arbor or not. I just have a hard time thinking that the spread between Ohio State and Rutgers should be tighter than what Michigan and Rutgers was, but I don't make the odds.
Neither do I. So,
any final thoughts? Anything that we haven't touched that you think Ohio State fans should or would want to know?
No, I don't think so. I know the weather is supposed to be nice on Saturday. I don't know if that helps with anything, but it should be a good crowd. And in all honesty, I think Rutgers is just excited to go out there and see how they match up with Ohio State this time around. Maybe the going back to the spread thing. Maybe it's because Ohio State hasn't looked kind of like Ohio State this season. But it should be a good game. I think Rutgers is just going to come out swinging. They had no pressure. They're going to have the fans behind them this time around. So I think it should be a good game. So
the Buckeyes certainly have had a few moments of frustration early on. The losing to Oregon by only a touchdown in a game that felt like a lot more than a 7-point loss. Beating Minnesota in a really hard-fought game that you look back on and maybe you see more deficiencies than you realized in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
A win over Tulsa that didn't feel nearly as comfortable as the final score would indicate with a 3-touchdown win. But finally, last week, playing an Akron Zips team that is certainly struggling and trying to build something. Right now they are, unfortunately for them, one of the worst teams in Division I football. And I think the Buckeyes looked a lot more last week like what you'd expect.
Sure.
Perhaps there's some question marks around whether or not C.J. Stroud's going to play. Maybe that's why the spread is tighter.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Day has not yet made that decision as we shoot this on Wednesday morning, or at least he hasn't publicly announced it. But he did say at his press conference yesterday that if CJ is healthy and available, he's the guy. And he said it no uncertain terms. There's no quarterback controversy in his mind. In fact, he said he was not even really open to the idea that Kyle McCord or Jack Miller could have played so well last weekend that they could have just run with the job. This is CJ Stroud's job, in Ryan Day's words, unless he's not able to go. So maybe that's part of the reason why it's a tighter spread. I'm just having a hard time wrapping my head around the idea that the Ohio State Rutgers spread is better than Michigan Rutgers.
I think when it's all said and done, Ohio State will cover and will win by at least three touchdowns. But if Rutgers is in the game in the fourth quarter, as Shannon likes to say, also it's a moral. I mean, there's no moral victories, but it would be a win, for the fans and maybe recruiting too. That Rutgers are getting more competitive and everything like that. So.
Again, man, I just keep going back to special teams.
Yeah.
Ohio State special teams units have been fine. They have certainly not been a liability. But the number of kicks that Rutgers has blocked, their ability to flip field position, I could see something happening on special teams that the Buckeyes all of a sudden are looking around at each other, going, "Wait, what just happened?"
Sure, I know special teams. Yeah, I know. Last year against Ohio State too, they returned a punt. I believe it was against Ohio State. So, yep. They're always. I feel like the team in general is more aggressive this year, even on offense. So they're gonna try and go for it. They're gonna try and move the chains and keep the ball.
Chris, where can if Ohio State fans are hoping to read up on Rutgers or follow the Scarlet Knights this week, where can they find your work?
Yeah, thanks. You could head over to the Rutgers Rivals. It's also thenighreport.net. You can follow us on Twitter as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris Nalwasky. We have content all the time. We sometimes do a video post game show also, so you guys can check that out if you're interested. Not sure on timing. It depends on how long interviews and everything that goes. But we have plenty of content, and thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, certainly enjoyed the conversation. Have fun this weekend, and hope it's a good game.
Sure, of course. Thank you.
All right, Chris Nalwasky from Rutgers Rivals. That wraps up Behind Enemy Lines here on Buckeyes Now. We've got lots of good coverage coming, including some scouting report with a couple of video clips along the way. You can check that out on Buckeyes Now. We've got lots of new stuff coming up on the YouTube channel here over the next couple of days as well, as we get ready for Ohio State and Rutgers on Saturday afternoon. I'm Brendan Gulick. See you soon. Thanks for joining us on the Buckeye Breakdown podcast. Ohio State and Rutgers reopening the Big Ten play for the Buckeyes this weekend.